And BAM! We're live! A new week, a new adventure. Week number 2 with Yatsoid Development with M2 Studios. I'm Mats, and with me is also Mats.
Hello.
And today we'll be starting our second go at creating Yatsoid. So, over the weekend, we've had this little conundrum regarding the card hand and how to properly scale it. That's how we ended the last video, at least. And today we're happy to report that we've received the help that we needed, and the issue has been resolved. So why don't you take us through what you did to resolve the issue, Mats?
Wasn't scaling. Was it? I already don't remember.
Wow. Well, because the original problem was that you didn't find the center, right?
Yeah, I couldn't actually. When I added more and more cards into the hand, I wanted every card to basically stay or move the rest of the cards so that they all of the cards always was at the center of the screen for now, or center of the hand.
Yeah.
And I managed to do that. So on the here I am moving each of these cards at the set axis. I can just put them. I am not allowed to put them there. Okay, okay. I made them able to have a little bit of a twist and like move them a little bit. I do not know why they are.
But because it seems that in that when you do that, the cards don't have a center. I guess it's because there's no like equal amount of cards on either side. So if you added one more card, it would have the same center and it would be symmetrical.
Yeah.
But because there's an even number of cards, you don't have a center card.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, so there you go. Now you have basically been able to make the hand.
Yeah.
As concepted out. It's going to be in the corner, in the right corner of the player's UI. So I'm assuming we discussed that the only sort of interaction that could be seen between the board and the UI, was when you drew a card, for instance. The card would just be like coming up from the bottom of the screen, and then we'd like visualize the deck becoming like shorter. Yeah, smaller, as a result of like drawing a card, and have the actual card draw pile be representative of the amount of cards. Instead of the actual card being like pulled towards the player. Not that we couldn't do that too, it's just I don't know if that is possible if we want to, for instance, put the card hand in like a canvas on the UI layer.
Say that again.
Because how do you anchor the how do we anchor the hand, right? Where do we position the hand? Does it exist in a 2D space as a UI element?
No,
or does it exist as an attachment to the camera, essentially?
Currently, it's just a game object in the world where every card.
Well, yeah, now it is, but
yeah.
What's their end goal?
I can place it wherever, actually. That doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, I know you can you can move in a scene wherever, but remember, if we're gonna have a free camera, yeah, the UI elements they move with the camera. True. And the card hand is supposed to be a UI element.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's essentially where I want the cards to be in the UI as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I am able to render the cards separately, so I can actually always have them as a UI looking element. That shouldn't be a problem, and I can probably. Yeah, no, that's not the problem. I think I have a solution for it in my head, but yeah.
Okay. Because remember, all the interactions that are required, right? And the interaction between the game fields. For instance, you need to be able to, say, click a card that you want to play, and then say if it has like a target, reset like target set or reroll one target dice. You have to be able to click on that card and then click on a dice on the game field, or click on an element of the UI where it, for instance, says the turn or a set.
Yeah.
You get me?
Hmm. All right. What to do today, though?
Yeah. So let's go over the development Trello.
Mm.
So for me at least,
Mm-hmm.
the only thing that I have left for the UI is to design the set score list, and to kind of design where, or try to figure out where to place it when you do the zoom. If I want it to be positioned there and you just look at it from top down in the game field, or if I want there to be a UI element that you pull out. Because although it would be a lot cooler and a lot more in touch with the whole aspect of having the Yahtzee game in universe, there is a question of legibility at play, and I just want to make sure that it's actually readable. Other than that, unless you've you know something I don't, I think the UI, at least for the game, is at a level where we can work with. At least concept wise, it's probably not how it's going to end up looking. But yeah, I think if we get even close, I think we should be happy. And then I might, I don't think we need to, but I could also do like a UX flowchart. You know, one of those where you have you start with the game booting, right?
Yeah.
And then you take it all the way to like game closing, like after a game or something.
Mm-hmm.
Just to go through the interactions, but then again there's not really an epic for it. Or not really, I don't know where it fits in here. And we don't need it. We don't have really a really complex game, honestly. So once I'm done with the UI, I guess I have no reason not to begin with the design document. So I guess that will be bam. Guess I'll work on that too then. So yeah, that's me.
I still have.
Can we point score the Yahtzee core document and design document? That would be nice.
Yeah, we can. And we kind of need to. I will have to continue the work on the dragging, etc. on the hand. All the hand gestures that we have with the cards.
Hand gestures?
Well, yeah, dragging here and there.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Clicking here and there.
Okay. But as for the Yahtzee core document, that's probably the one we have most of right now. I'll just salvage the old game design document, and it'll get quite a lot from. We'll get quite a lot of it from there. So this is probably going to be like just a 4, I think. But the Unity design document, there's going to be a lot of new stuff. That one's going to be a bit of a pain.
Yeah.
So that's definitely going to be like a 10 or something. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, maybe more.
I agree.
Because I set 7 for something that it should be done with one day. This is definitely something that takes like 2 or 3 days.
Say 12
So-
then.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And then I have to do the type, task, priority. Well, it doesn't need a priority actually. It has a parent. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, I need to do these. There we go. And this.
I'm already managed.
Oh
to
shit!
have
Yeah, I
player
keep
cards.
forgetting to do the due date thing. I should have done that on my earlier ones.
Right.
Right. So, what you say? Shall we begin the first day of our reckoning?
Absolutely.
All right. Something I'm wondering.
Mhm.
Rolling the dice when it's
Yeah.
your turn. How are we going to do that from an interaction standpoint? Are we going to have the player click on the dice field, the dice itself, a button, drag, what? What do you think?
Hmm.
Because you want there to be an action. It's an action that you're going to do a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So we obviously want it to be easy to do, right?
Yeah.
But we want it to also be fun. Are we going to do? Yeah, I'm assuming we are physics dice, which actually interact with physics, so that you can see them roll. Right? We're not gonna do like
Yeah.
scripted dice.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Which means that clicking on the dice can be a bit meh. But I want there to be, so when you hold the dice, for instance, as well, is that going to be you dragging the dice to one side or clicking on them? Because we want to kind of establish an almost a language, right, for interacting with the dice. Do we want it to be very interaction heavy, very sort of emulating the real world, where you would have to like pick up a dice and move it to an area to like safeguard it and hold it,
Mm.
or and when you want to select, say I want to roll 3 dice, specific dice, do I just click on one and then the other and then the third and then click roll, or
I
do
think
I?
that if we let the player be able to like drag each separate dice and move them around.
Within, at least within the red, like
Yeah.
within the play space.
That would take away some of that player's play time, or make the play time longer.
Yeah, because remember, we're going in the spirit of the suggestion bits, right? Where you have the word cloud popping up, right, with the different scores you get, and you could just click on it and you score it and you're done instantly, right? Because that's the sort of mindset where you should be able to you should be able to rush through a turn without a problem, right?
Yeah.
There shouldn't be any fiddling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you have to drag everything, it should be fiddling. So I think the easiest way is that we say there is a button or an object in the world that you associate with. If you click this, all the dice that you haven't locked down, they just flip, right? They are thrown in the air. Say here we go. So say we make a button appear, right? That is in the actual in-universe. We make it like one of those classic big red buttons, right? That is satisfying to press. And when you press it, it's sort of the red plate. If you look at my screen, right?
Yeah, I can drag them though. Mm-hmm.
So say we have a big red button that appears in universe, right? With its we make it nice and 3D, and we have it like pop up from the table. And then it says roll.
When you say
it's your
in
turn.
universe, you mean in the scene.
Yeah, in the scene, not as a UI element.
Mm-hmm.
And it says roll, right? And when you click it, this red thing basically just kicks everything up, like it moves up forcibly, and that's the physical element that rolls the dice. But if you click on the dice, it locks it in place through like, the visual aid could be, for instance, like it's got like a blue force field around it or some shit, as if like some magnetism is holding it. So when the entire plate is kicked up, they are remaining. They can't be moved by anything, like any dice hitting them or anything like that won't move them. So say that these 3 are held, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you click them, right? And then when the red plate is just kicked up, the 3 dice remaining are then consequently rolled. And then we can also like have a ticker on the actual button to symbolize the roll. So you can roll like once, twice, and thrice, and they can be like I'll have to design it, of course, but there can be like a visual way to indicate like how many rolls you have left or something. So that's one way to do it. Another way is far more subtle and less fun way, which is, say we have a dice cup, one of those things you roll dice in.
Yeah.
We have that standing by the side, right? So what you do is you select the dice that you want to roll. So you say, so it says select dice you wish to roll. So the first roll is obviously everything, either way. But then once everything is out on the field, right, you click, I want to roll this, this, and this, and then you click the dice cup, and the dice are immediately moved to the dice cup. You click the dice cup, and then it rolls it. Because that again is a very animation heavy and time heavy way to do it.
Yeah. Since we're trying to get the time down on everything, I think it's best to like have a button that just you select the ones that you want to hold, those do not move, and then all of the rest of the or dices just gets kicked into the air with a random rotation and direction, and that will be how they get the new random.
Yeah, another way to do it as well, well, it's not another way, but a modified way to the original button idea, the kick plate idea, is to have, when you click on the dice to hold it, either, say if it's like some random place on the field, right? You click on it, and then it moves it to the side, to one specific side, the held dice side, or moves it off, maybe even moves it off the actual plate.
Yeah, maybe it moves it off, yeah.
Yeah, moves it off the actual plate, and then because then it can make more sense and doesn't have to be like feeling like
and they won't be in the way.
Yeah,
when the cards or when the dices are rolling.
So I say that, oh shit, maybe the dice that you held actually go to your own play space, like above your player, where it says like your player 1 tag or something.
Yeah.
Like just above here, so because then that way, like you get a lot more of a visual, like, okay, you have these dice, these are yours, these are the ones you've locked, right? And it separates them quite well from the dice that are active or in play.
Yeah.
And then it also makes it easier to visualize. So for instance, if player 3 is holding a dice, it's very much easy. It's a lot easier to, and it's an additional visualizer for whose turn it is. Because as a player 1, right, when player 2 is holding dice, that dice will be coming on the player 2 side, right? Yeah. Which means that it's much easier for you to say, oh shit, player 2, that's the guy I'm trying to stop from getting points. I should probably fuck with his dice, and I can even see that, oh shit, he's lining up like he's lining up a straight. I better hurry up and use a card to stop that.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's the way to do it. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So to reiterate, we have, when you click a button called roll, which we should probably, maybe there are 4 buttons already. Maybe on the field. I'll actually have to design that. But either way, you click the roll button. That kicks up this red plate and sends the dice flying. And then when you want to hold, you click on the dice, and then it just moves to in front of your to the top of your play area. And then whenever you want, you click roll again, and it sends them flying again. So I think I think that's a good way to do it. Another thing that actually a gameplay element that we haven't really thought about, but it's actually getting quite relevant, is the fact that speed is now going to be not just you know, a nice side effect, but it's actually going to be a pretty important counter to other players. Because if you take your round so fast, if you like just click, roll, click, 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 and just like roll, hold, hold, and then score immediately, like really quickly, then nobody's going to be able to play their card. But then again, so you're not going to be able to play your card, nor are you going to be able to properly think strategically. So it's like, you know, somebody who takes the time is going to be more vulnerable to cards, but is also going to be able to play with their own cards. So the question here is everybody just going to resort to speed playing, which means no cards are going to be played, which means they're basically just playing Yahtzee? Or do we, or is that going to create variation where some players will prefer playing quick whilst others will play deliberately? Because we are kind of giving the players the tools that allow them to play so quickly that theoretically no cards could be played.
True.
So do we want to do a Hearthstone, for instance, and put like a timer? Not a timer, but like maybe we do like we have in the rules where you have to like wait for 5 seconds at the very end for you before you score. Maybe.
Yeah.
So that no matter how quick it is, everyone has 5 seconds at the very end at least to fuck with your held dice, because that's what you're trying to score with.
Yeah. We can do something like that.
We'll have to test it and adjust the time, but having like just like a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then beep, and like and then the player gets the score like in a big red, and then placed into the total, and the total goes up, and then next player. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, beep, and then basically.
Yeah.
Okay, great. That gives me more of an indication of what to do here now, but that means I have to go back to Unity and find out how this is gonna look.
Be right back.
All right.
I am back. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Här har jag tänkt att lösa rullproblemet.
Yeah.
Are we gonna roll? Oh, sorry.
Southern Norwegian.
Southern Norwegian. Here's I think. What do you think about this for the rolling? Essentially,
Yeah.
you have it here. So you just click, and then it goes to like a green, for like just to show which rolls you have. So they light up. So another thing I just thought of, which kind of works with this weird kooky kind of game board we have now. What if we like, and when you model the game board, have it have like wires going to like the plates, and like wire go up and up there, and like a motorist, like a mechanism underneath that is supposed to be the like the like a pneumatic like piston that hits the underside of this that makes it flip. Like basically make it like seem like some weird kooky ass inventor who basically made this game board to play outside. Where you have like old lights that flicker on these, like, you know, maybe one of them has gone out. The buttons are worn and like.
Or you could have like magic circles doing everything.
Or that, yeah, but yeah, exactly. But that's the thing, right? You have like, because that way we can have like, because the tables doesn't matter. It does the same either way, but you can have like one version where it's like magical, and then you have a magical castle like you're in, and then one where it's like you're in a kooky ass workshop, and you know, it can it helps establish theme, and I love it because, you know, we supposed to have the whole establishing the homebrew, you know, the feeling of something homemade.
Yeah.
And having this kooky ass table, you know, specifically made to play outside, it just adds to the fun. Because it a lot of card games make the mistake of being very sterile and very kind of impersonal. And I think just adding that touch, you know, I think will do a lot for that. Roll. And then have the button basically be like when you click it and it's not your turn, it just goes down a bit, but it's obviously like locked in place essentially. But you get that, or something when you try to click it. I think another one solution that makes the game go faster is, of course, having the roll button, for instance, be like your space bar, quite simply. So you don't actually have to click the button; you just play space bar.
Yeah.
So the quickest interaction would, of course, then be, you know, it's your turn. Draw a card, space bar, click on the dice, space bar, click on the dice, space bar, and then click on one of the scores. Done.
Mm-hmm.
Or wait for 5 seconds. Done. So why don't we do a breakdown of what we're doing right now then? Seems like you're working on a different script now. Can I have a guess? Is it about targeting related to cards?
No, it's
So you pulled in like a ray tracing script or something. So
yeah, it's it's to be able to click on the deck and draw a card, or just that the deck has the cards and that when you pull a card,
the size goes down.
well, the card that you drew is then added to a ID list, so that that card can't be drawn again.
Shouldn't you have it the other way around, where the draw pile specifies what it knows beforehand what card you're going to draw? It's just that the order is obviously randomized each time you shuffle the deck, because otherwise you get the logic all twisted in case something else is dependent on it. So shouldn't you have, instead of it being like that, where it's like you can't draw the card, can't you instead have like this card is drawn being an attribute of the card deck essentially?
Now I don't know what you mean.
Well, I'm just saying, like, shouldn't the logic be held inside of the actual. Okay, so look at my screen now, just so that so that you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
This is the draw pile. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This should contain information in a listed order of card IDs, right? So it should have.
They are.
Yeah, it should know. For instance, it should know what's the first card and what's the last card, and everything card between.
It has a
And
list
then-
of all the cards that's supposed to be used.
Yeah,
in
and
the
then
game.
you can shuffle the order through any means. Like if there's anything that shuffles the cards, it is able to shuffle the cards, and it's able to, if prompted, it's able to know exactly. You can ask it, what's the third card that's going to be drawn, and it knows. And then when you draw a card, you put that in a player's hand, and that card is then technically considered drawn, right? Which means that it can't be
Yeah.
drawn again.
That's the logic that I am working on.
Okay, because to me it sounded like you essentially just made an inverted list with cards that were drawn, and that's about it. Like,
Well, I need a list of IDs of the cards that has been drawn.
okay.
Because how else am I gonna check?
Well, I was, as I said, basically just modify the already existing table of cards and add the attribute drawn, and then it's when drawing cards, it checks first: is this card already drawn? If yes, then skip one.
How am I gonna check if that card has been drawn? I need that specific card from somewhere, and I need
Yes,
that
but that's
ID.
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You, as long as you have the, because I don't know if you're intending to actually have that list, that deck of card be an actual list that it's generated on a per game basis.
Well, we were gonna have it so that when you start the game, you have that ban phase, etc.
Yeah, exactly.
And all the cards are added into the pile. All the
Yeah.
cards will be added into the pile. After that, whenever cards are drawn, it automatically gets a random card from that pile of cards.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like that's what I'm saying. You shouldn't do, because that messes with the logic. That is very sort of top-heavy draw calculation, instead of it just being at the start of the game, we know exactly what cards will be drawn.
Why do I need to know exactly what cards? to be
Because
drawn?
then that makes the whole process a lot cleaner in case we have additional cards or effects that are reliant on that information.
Well, if that happens, I
It
can
is
just
random
change
per
it
game
to it.
either way.
It
Because
doesn't matter if I shuffle at the beginning, or if I shuffle when I draw or get a random card from the deck. It will still look like it's from the top. It doesn't matter.
Yes, I know. From the player's perspective, it doesn't matter. But
Mhm.
it's more about the reliability of the draw when it comes to interactions from cards, and how we are able to troubleshoot it. For instance, if there is a card that ever say allows you to draw or look at the top 3 cards and discard one and then put them back, if you always draw a random card whenever you draw a card, that won't matter. And then you'd have to do some fucky like hack fuck solution where, well, now you force those 2 cards that you drew to be drawn next time, instead of it being an elegant solution where you literally see the next 3 cards. You understand?
I didn't know we had any cards that could do that.
No, but we need the option to.
Well,
That's what I'm saying. We need to
need
make sure that we don't make clunky decisions now, so that it makes it difficult for us in the future.
It won't make it difficult in the future. It won't. Redesigning that bit of code doesn't matter, because it's all contained within this. I can just change that, or just make a new one next to it, so that it changes how it does it. It doesn't matter. We can go back and forth. Doesn't matter.
But there's just they're starting to rack up a lot of things that we're gonna have to redesign once it pops up, and I'm just like, why don't we just do it right the first time? It's not as much. It's not much harder, is it? To just have there be a different element that is literally just the cards with an attribute that says 1 or 32 based on however when they're supposed to be drawn.
Well, right now I don't care about how that is done. I just need it to work, you know.
Fine, I'm just saying, like that's it's just a very
well. This is how I program.
Yeah, I noticed.
Dude, I go through a whole lot of testing when I code. So I try one way, I see that doesn't work, I change it completely, and none of the code is the same, and it works in a completely different way for me, and I can do that like within 10 minutes some places. So it doesn't matter if I do it like that or the way I do it, because it literally takes me 10 minutes to fix it or change it. I can disable it by just changing the name of the method that I'm using. So I can literally write a new one right here.
The saving grace is that you actually do work pretty object oriented. So you do have self-contained solutions.
Yeah.
However, I'm just please, at least when we get to a point where this gets big and cumbersome, be aware that maybe sometimes you should be a bit more future-proofing. Right now, I can definitely see the argument of you just need it to work. But
when I know how it should work, I've rewrite it so that it's more for the future.
Okay.
Sure. Because then I have the logic that I need, but I will write it in another way so that that logic still exists, but works better.
Okay. But at least you understand how I
I get it
to be at the end. Yeah, not necessarily now, because you are correct. You know, you obviously need to code the way that makes it natural for you to code, but for the logic to work when, for instance, I introduce that type of card, I need it to be there. You know,
it's like for example, say I had made a script for player input and walking, right? To make it work, I would make the input and the walking thing in the same script, but to have it like that all the time for like that wouldn't be the final code. I would separate them into two different scripts, one for input and one for walking specifically. Yeah. But in the beginning, I need it all so that in the same document, so that I don't need to jump back and forth. It's a lot easier to have it all in one place. Okay,
sure, but just okay. Can you do one thing for me then, at least? Just to make sure, add something on Trello or add a comment or something, just to remind you that in case, because this is like the classic situation where you forget that you jury-rigged something to test, and you leave a bit of code in or something that adds like a bug or some random occurrence later on when you try to.
I haven't done that yet though.
Okay. Yeah, but
it's not a lot. I have had a lot more code in my head before I actually forget about something, and when I forget about something and I go back into that script, I just look at it and then, why the fuck is that there? And I fix it.
Yeah, but yes, but would you trust someone else with doing the exact same thing? So because what you should be doing is like, the way I code, would I trust someone else to code on to do the same method when working on my code or working on this game?
know how that guy is gonna program it.
What?
I don't fucking.
Like, yeah, this is going to work when you're alone and when you're the one that is fully in control of the code. But it just might cause issues in the future, getting too used to that sort of jury rigging.
Well, I won't be releasing my part of the code until I've actually fixed it, though.
Okay.
That's
Sure,
how it
man.
works.
We'll address it. We'll address it if it becomes a problem. It's one of those, I'll let you have the shotgun as long as you don't shoot yourself in the fucking foot.
And
Until
also,
that becomes an issue, we'll talk about gun safety then. Okay?
and also, if we add another dude who's gonna program, that guy is gonna be the main programmer. I'm not gonna be the main programmer anymore. I'm gonna be the one who actually put everything together, like I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like or just make the 3D models and the graphics like I'm like my degree says I'm supposed to do. I'm not being a freaking programmer, which I have to be because I'm the only one who can program. Ish.
Hey, that's not a defense.
It is. No.
It's not. I'm the only one who can do it, so stop complaining. I guess that's the defense, right?
Yep.
All right.
I do it my way until somebody else has to do it, and then they have to have that problem. Then
all right, I forfeit. I forfeit
problem.
the argument. Jeez. Oh god. I need to figure out. The light is just so goddamn blue in this fucking render. Hang on. Whatever. Oh wait.
Damn it! Now I lost my trail of thought.
And then you're going to be forgetting when a piece of code in, and
Shut up!
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's gonna be a self-fulfilling prophecy. I know it.
It won't.
Stay with me while we leave. Don't worry, just believe me. This journey will relieve us. Stay with me while we leave. Stay
I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry, just believe me. This journey will relieve us. Stay with me.
And I just realized how awkward it's going to be to design a player score sheet for just one player. I guess we go for the Roll20 design.
Mm-hmm.
I have something I need your input on, but it can wait until you're done with your train of thought.
Mm. Yes.
Yeah, so the scoreboard, I just thought of something. So you can either have it so that you essentially have this, right? Like we have in Roll20, where you can only see your own score and you don't input it because obviously, that's done automatically. At least for now. Um, but I was just thinking, what if each player technically could see, like, if we use the old scoreboard, right? But every player had every other player's score as well going down the line. Now that would remove that aspect I was talking about not knowing every player's exact score and what they've done exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I think I value information than more information than less, especially when it's something you can make decisions on based on.
Mm-hmm.
So what then would happen is that on your side here, you would like literally do like you would in an actual game of Yahtzee, right? And that's kind of the goal as well, isn't it? To make sure that the game sort of emulates a bit how it's supposed to be playing the board game. And technically, in the board game, you can easily see the points to someone else. You can just ask to see the score sheet because you have a judge who also plays. You
Yeah,
know?
but we were trying to fix a lot of the problems with that though. Like have when we can automate stuff, why
Yeah.
not automate it?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah. That's a separate.
Takes away all the time to where you
The
need.
automation isn't necessarily the question here. I agree we should automate as much as possible. But the question here is, should this be the character sheet where you have the player name here, right, as you would in the real world, and you actually have the score going down and each player's score going down, and that is mirrored on each one. So that happens for each player essentially, right?
Yeah.
Or do we just have this one? You know?
Yeah. I'm not sure. Hang on. Be right back. 2 sec.
Yeah.
Back.
Yeah. But you understand my question here, right?
Yeah.
It's between this sheet and the one currently down there.
Mm.
Or a separate separate question can also be, does each player only see their line going down, but the other lines still remain blank? That would be stupid. That's like waste of space, quite literally.
Yeah.
Or maybe that leaves it open for a card that reveals all the other columns, for instance.
Well, I don't feel like we need to like have cards that specifically shows other people's score. Why there's no gameplay related other than
Well,
like, oh, he's leading.
no,
Here.
it's fine to seeing the total score is not that important. Well, it is because there's some wild cards that, like winner or loser, or like specifically like loser actually, because then you want to make sure that you're the last one, least points. But more importantly, say for instance with cards that allow a certain set to be scored again for everyone. I don't remember what calls regret or something. Yeah, and say if you notice that, oh, I'm the only one who scored chance, so that means that card is going to be very high value to play for me, and it's not going to aid my opponents.
Yeah, well, I just feel like hiding everybody else's score would basically create a what's say unnecessary distraction
Hiding
towards
it, or
what's supposed to be the core gameplay. Do you see?
but
Because
no, wait,
because
hiding
because
it.
if you hide the score from the other player's score, and you need cards to see them at points, where's like I feel like you then get more focused on trying to reveal that score, so you can actually have a better score at that set than they do. Instead of actually just looking over and, oh, he hasn't scored, or I see that I've got less score than player 2. Maybe I should do something about it.
Yeah, I know. I definitely agree that there is a benefit.
Instead of like
there's a clarity that comes with just plainly seeing everyone score.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I would definitely say that we do not need the extra depth of information to that specificity being an available gameplay element. We don't need that depth.
And it also adds to time used per player.
Yeah. No, but it's because you see, so then it seems like you're in favor of this system where, say, I'm a player now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I've got the vision of a player. I've got the vision of a player right now. So
Yeah.
I can look at the score sheet now, and I see player 1, player 2, player 3, player 4, and I see exactly what's been scored and how much points.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, if you're player 2, you have the exact same thing. And as player 1, I can even see player 2, but that's obviously not necessary. It's only a visual cue. But yes, so you want it to be like this then?
Yeah.
Because I that's why I asked, because I could do both. The obvious pro of doing this is the simplicity, and of course the emulation of real world gameplay, because that's how you do it in real world.
Yeah, but we're trying to get away from the real world stuff.
Yeah, no, but that's how you would see it in the real world.
Yeah.
That's how you. It's more about association than actual. We're not a simulation. We more try to emulate the feel of it, right? So for that, this is certainly a benefit. The only benefit I see of having a single character sheet like this is I think counterintuitively it would make the turns go quicker. And you know why? Because you don't, with this solution, right? You might have too much information that you feel you need to consider. With this, you don't have information to go on, so you don't feel like you should go on information like that. Because when there's information presented to you, you feel an obligation to kind of think around it.
Yeah. I get what you mean. But
But
yeah.
I think the benefits still outweigh that issue. So I'm also in favor for you said about just having the character sheet here, the
Yeah.
score sheet, and then having all the score going down,
Mm-hmm.
and then being able to, of course, zoom in on
Yeah.
it and see.
I
But
don't feel like it actually needs to be in the play field either. It could be like a whole
well, yeah.
tab and you can see the
That
score.
yeah, now that we've decided upon this, we don't need them there because originally, remember, it was supposed to be the individual scores that you could
Yeah.
sort of spy visually from this distance.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, it's no longer necessary. So yes, I do think we just do this. Bam. Well, I'm gonna do it like this, just in case I want to have them back. So, and then I just essentially have it as a 2D element. You agree?
Yeah.
Then that's what we do. Also makes the whole game feel a lot cleaner.
Whoa.
There we go. Got English version of the scoreboard now.
Mm.
Ah.
Why the fuck? Are
What
they
the fuck is going on?
squished? They're squished. Of course they're squished though. Oh lol. I did not.
What
on.
the fuck is going on? Why is the card position changing so fucking much? Why is it spazzing out? What have you done?
Right. So they are correctly added to the player's hand, etc. So when I click A, a card spawns at the normal the game field card deck here.
Hang on. Yeah, nothing is happening on how do I?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I
okay,
haven't
yeah,
I haven't
delay.
spawned it yet.
Okay,
yeah, okay. So and it then sends a event to the player hand that checks if it's for the right player, and if it's for the right player, then the hand or the player script puts it in its hand, basically.
Yeah.
Hand object here.
Yeah.
But when it spawns, it's a child of the game field card deck, which I scaled. I believe I scaled this. Yes, I scaled this, and now it should be correctly. I believe it should spawn normal cards. Yes. So if we just move the player hand a little bit further
There we
back,
go.
so you can actually see it. The card spawns at the card deck, and they fly into the hand of the player. So
One more.
wherever I place them,
Ooh.
and rotation.
Ooh, that's fancy.
Example. Whoop. The rotation didn't work, but okay. Yeah. Whoop, 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 whoop.
Try and spawn more decks. More. Ah!
I'm gonna test how it looks if I rotate it. Hang on. If I rotate it 180 degrees, it doesn't matter because the
So
rotation
you've
is
essentially done what we remember we had this discussion earlier. If like, oh, how easy would it be to have them actually fly in from the actual draw pile? It's like,
Yeah,
no, you know what? We'll cheat and we'll make it pop up from the bottom. And now we've just gone ahead and made it the way that we wanted
well,
it.
it was easier to make it like this, okay?
That's weird. That's counterintuitively weird. I like it.
Yes. So, well, currently it just spawns from the middle of the cube.
Yeah.
And adds them into the hand.
It's pretty cool though, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Trippy.
Yeah. But it looks cool.
Yeah, it does.
Whoop, whoop. And I must remember that deck should never be scaled. What happens if I scale this one? I wonder. Does it matter? It matters. Yeah.
It
Well,
matters.
it doesn't matter when we're gonna have the object inside of it anyway. It shouldn't be an actual box or mesh here, and we shouldn't need to scale it like that anyways. So yeah, but I might have to change that.
Can't you just set the cards to have a fixed scale so it doesn't inherit it from its parent?
Well, yeah.
Not that you need to, because it's not exactly a fix that's gonna, as you
Well,
said. But you know, just in
I
case.
can probably do this. The transform position is this transform position. Yeah, I should probably be able to do this. It shouldn't matter. I don't need to have it as the parent. Yeah, no, I don't need to have it as a parent. And the hand is stupidly close to the camera again. Now if I scale this, it should matter because it's not a parent. Yeah, there we go. Now it doesn't matter. However, I do want to have the rotation. Look up on how to do the instantiate again. That's because the normal card visualizer. Yeah. There we go. I added the rotation as well, so that it actually looks like it properly comes from.
Oh. Sweet. Do it again. Do it again. Oh yeah, my lord. Woo. Woo. And then if you manage to do it so that the actual card stack now goes down in synchronous to the actual drawing like that. Woo! Loud, loud.
That isn't as hard though. Let's see.
That isn't as hard.
It isn't hard. It isn't hard.
All right.
So,
Okay.
game field card deck. We update. Mm. Transform dot local scale equals. Uh, aren't we? Open deck.
What?
Oh.
Oh my lord, you actually made it. Wow, and it keeps growing. You didn't have a mindless floor. as the floor. It just keeps growing into the negative. But it needs to, for it to look properly, you look proper, it needs to scale from the top down and not from the center.
Yeah, well,
So you probably can't use actual scale.
well, it doesn't
Because I
matter.
think
Because when we have the table.
Oh no. Oh no. Are you gonna hack fuck it and have it like go down when it scales as well? And then just hide it under the fucking table?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Can you
No,
just
no,
at
no,
least
no, no.
admit that that's the dirtiest fucking play ever?
It is. But it's because the object that I have right here.
You don't even need to scale it then, you just need to make it move
I-
down one step.
I know. The thing is, the object that I have right there is not the one I'm gonna use. Let's see. So there's a cube right here. I'm gonna move that up. I'm gonna even have it up in the air a little bit. And you'll see that when I scale this, it should now have the right position. So it scales like that. And then when it's too far down, it goes underneath the
Okay.
ground.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
It goes underground, yes. No
It
shit.
does go underground. Yes, under the table. There we go.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, it's not as dirty as I originally thought.
So all I need to do is just add the object that's going to be the deck, and
Oh,
should all be
I just
fine.
realized another positive change with having the score sheet in the UI is that you no longer technically need to have a camera that the player can move.
Mm-hmm.
Although, of course, there would still be a benefit so that you can have them look around the space they're in if you want to have a beautiful play space. But it does mean we can do more bullshit solutions, I guess. But I don't know. I don't want to give you an excuse. But I gotta say, I'm really glad I've basically gone into such detail with the UI and have it all in one like PSD, because I'm now like really trying to maximize screen real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of thinking, okay, like what's it gonna look like if all the different elements are on at once? Is it gonna be cluttered as fuck? How are they gonna play? How are the different UI elements gonna play with each other?
Yeah.
Because I was just thinking, like, so if you look at my screen right now, right?
Sure.
Because the issue that I'm currently faced with, is that okay? So what information do we have in this corner? Well, we have the total score and the set scored, which is completely unnecessary when the actual scoreboard is up, because you'll see it here anyways, and you'll see how many sets you've scored. So it's just an abbreviation of information. Well, then it makes sense that the score sheet covers over that. Now, of course, what that also does is it covers over the time remaining if it's your turn. So now I'm going to need to essentially have it so that it pops up over here. I'm thinking. And then I was like, okay, well, why not just if I was playing the game, right? And I
Mhm.
could either have it on or off, like have that down or up. I would play with it constantly up, right? Because it's very easy to quick reference the different players,
Oh.
and to play and play cards from it, because you essentially have everything you need, right? you can click to roll, and then you can play cards, and then you score, and everything kind of just happens from here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the problem, of course, is that you miss out on the information about player 2 and what's going on with player 2. You don't see their cards, what they have. You can be, you don't see that, but you see it from the other players, so it becomes lopsided. So now I'm like, fuck, how do I solve that problem? so so that's why it's very nice to be able to properly lay out things if beforehand.
Yeah.
Because what I'm now thinking is, okay, maybe I'd have it in the middle and then have it scale it down so that it basically fits perfectly between these things. But then again, then you can't play whilst having it up, so it becomes a quick reference sheet. And I'm like, is that a problem? No, not really, because you do have the point suggestion cloud, which is essentially what's meant to be used in play, right? Whilst you're rolling dice, you get the suggestions up and you click the suggestions. Because honestly, you're not going to be creative when it comes to scoring. You're most likely going to score the one with the highest number.
Yeah.
So it's not like you need to constantly reference. So yeah, I'm going to need a little bit more time to just to make sure that it doesn't obstruct important information to the current sort of state that I'm assuming a player will use it from. Whether it be while playing or while another player is playing. And it's especially important if another player is playing and you want to quick reference, okay, do I want to interrupt? Because, okay, say player 2 is dreadfully close to a large straight, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you check the score sheet, you'll see that he's far behind everyone else, and especially you. Right?
Mhm.
So with that information, you wouldn't even bother spending a card on him. But if you didn't know that, you might do it. So if that's player 2 and the card comes up like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'll have to like constantly keep switching it back and forth between this and that to reference and check, okay, does he actually have cards? What did he hold? Like, because the dice will be here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, fuck. It's so many goddamn depths. Screen real estate's really a problem now. So yeah, I'll have to figure it out. I might just try to redesign this because I have a wide version as well that I've made. Oh shit. That's essentially where the fuck is it? Yeah, here. Like a wide version
Mm-hmm.
that it could come up like this as well. So it could be if we remove this. So instead have it like this.
Yeah.
That obstructs very little, but then again, it just you can have it like this and have it be like a view where you scroll. So essentially, hang on, be like it would be like this. So you have like a view that you scroll. Oh shit, wait, I was wrong. Right, so you can like scroll down like this.
All right. Yeah.
That's one way to solve it.
Mm.
But then again, that's a very clunky, and it's also goes against the
Yeah.
philosophy of trying to make it look like the physical game, or recognizable at least. And it's not very. I never like scrolling because that implies we need to have like a scroll bar in case people don't have a mouse wheel that works, and it's like, there's just a whole lot different problems that pop up.
Yeah. I don't think we should do that.
Yeah.
But placing it like that in the middle, I feel maybe if you pop up the other one that you had, the sideways one.
Hang on. Let's do this one first. Yeah,
and have that in the middle of the screen.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then you go to the original issue I had, which was then you can't play with it out.
No, but you could always just hold tab to see it, for example.
That's true.
Yeah.
It,
So
but then
you don't
so
need
then,
to
but
have
then
it on the screen all the time, but if you need to see it, you just hit tab, hold tab
it
down,
becomes
and
it goes from being a constant utility to being like a check, basically. Like you can double check because it's not needed,
Mhm.
obviously, because you can score with the cloud here.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, hang on, let me have a look and see what he has, and then quick tab. Of course, you have to also have a representative button. Maybe that can be here by the total score.
Yeah. You can always
A
have
button that you can click that opens it as well, because we
Mhm.
obviously need to have the buttons. But all right, yeah, I can try to work with that, and then have it be like in any other game where you have like the scoreboard where you can click tab to get or escape or something to get a score up,
Yeah.
total score.
We can make it so that only the scores that are gonna be scored in this game mode pops up.
Yeah.
So if we have the short version where we only have the right section right here.
Yeah,
the left
I think
section
we'll
won't be shown.
remake. We'll obviously remake this in Unity with like where it can scale and
Yeah, yeah.
change based on like we can add more or take away less or take away some.
Mhm.
But I think that actually is very important that you said, because that makes it a lot more important that it has a scalable amount of space, which
Mhm.
Center is quite good at, and having it just pop up with a
Mhm.
tab is probably the best way, because then say if you're playing a super insane version of Yatsoid where it has like even more sets,
Mhm.
fitting it to bespokely fit in a corner somewhere will be
Yeah.
impossible, because it could technically spiral out of fucking control, you know?
Yeah, you would need to move and hide everything, and you need to, like, if it's a high-paced game where, like we said, a player just spams out all he has and rolls
Yeah.
as fast as he can. The player who has his scoreboard continuously up like that, or in a corner or like that, he won't be able to
React.
properly react. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's in the
Okay.
way. So
And also
by just
we can
holding tab, he can just quickly let go of it, and the board
and play.
game field comes back, and he can actually see what the other players are doing.
Ooh, and another way we could do it as well is that you can technically have, since we this is going to be live anyways, right? You can
Mhm.
have, say, if this player's 2 turn, the player 2 column kind of lights up and
Yeah.
shows and is in view and clear, so that you can because of course when you tab out, it's going to be confusing at first. You're going to have to reorient. Okay, where is X? I'm looking for this, and you're most likely going to be looking for the current player information, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can quickly just like lock in on that information that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's the way we do it. So I'm gonna design a neat little window for it that's scalable.
Mm-hmm. We got
All right,
4
thanks a
minutes
lot.
left.
Oh yeah, we might as well just do the closing then, I guess.
Yeah.
But so yeah, let's go through what we've done. Since we're already in my view, I can just show you. So this was the old game field.
Mm-hmm.
I've obviously removed the scoreboard. We've added I've changed the perspective, and you'll probably notice that now.
Yeah.
It makes it a lot more feel like you're actually sitting by a table.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried to make it so that it's kind of like head height, with the right perspective. And also, I love the symmetry here, so I'm just gonna view extras. Wait, what? Wait, there you go. So you see here the tables like perfectly align here with the UI element,
Mm-hmm.
like that. and then the word cloud gets a lot more space and becomes more spacious, and you can have it kind of float and bob a little bit. So yeah, I've added that, and so here was another one. That was the previous one where you had the scoreboards. Added the roll button.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to see how that is in play. That's going to be very important to actually test.
Mm-hmm.
Because we might just add that as a UI element as
Yeah,
well.
I was thinking, and I have an idea for how you can do it in my head.
Okay.
So say the word cloud at the bottom there that that we have like to the right of total score of the player.
Yeah. Hang on.
Go back.
Go on. Go on. No. Just go on.
I need to
really
I need
good
to
idea.
see the Photoshop.
Okay. Yeah. Go on.
Yeah. So have like a sort of tiny list that it adds the items that can be scored to that list at just to the right of it, and in the middle you have the roll button, a little bit bigger, but right above it you have all the dices, both held and non-held dices, like an actual icon for so you can actually see what side of it is, because when you look at it like this, it's kind of hard to see specifically what side each dice is.
Yeah.
So yes, you can actually yes, you have the dices actually be in the or in the scene, and they roll, and you can click on them, etc. But you can also have the visual of it, so you can actually see the dices right above in the UI.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because that is just a clarity of information.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing with the iconic, it's so easy to iconography dice.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's just the eyes, and they can be very tiny, and you'll be immediately recognize the different ones.
Yeah, and especially at an angle like you have it right now, you can't actually see. You only see like half the size of what it actually is on the game field.
It'll be easier, because remember, the dice will be smaller, and we'll probably have like, so one thing I've it's kind of off topic, but one thing I was thinking of was having the actual dice themselves, when they rest with the face up, the actual facing kind of eyes light up, so that the ones on the top are actually more visible than the ones to the side that aren't active, that aren't on the actual facing. That's a way to sort of solve it from that perspective. But what you said about having it reflected in the UI as well, I think we'll do that anyways. Even however visible the dice are, because it's very useful information, specifically for decision making.
Yeah, I think it's actually better if we use the UI to actually be able to select each dice, and the selection becomes visible in the game,
in the playfield. Yes, because you want there to be separation between the UI interactions and the game field interactions, because that's essentially what I was trying to do here. So I want to show you something that I was just thinking of. Instead of having the button here, right? So what we do instead is we go here, and then I think it's this rotation. No, it's not that rotation. It's this rotation. Whoa, what the fuck? That's fucking weird.
It's because I think it's
because
hang
on. Is it the wrong object?
Yeah, it's the wrong object, but that's not the point. Well,
fuck it. So basically, you've played pinball? You played a pinball game, right?
Yeah.
So under the table here, right? What if you had the roll button be that, and like a thing that gets pulled out, and then ejects back in, because that adds to the physicality, because that's the kind of thing I want. I want there to be a physicality to it, because when you click that button, this thing, boom, gets like boom, and then the dice goes up. Because remember, a lot of the fun of dice games is the action of rolling dice, and this
Mhm.
is a game, and you're not going to get that fun, so you have to compromise. And I think a good way of doing that is if you have a button that says roll and you just click it and then the dice just rolls, that's boring. But having like a fucking big ass button or like a pull lever or something that is like mechanical and that you know is cathartic to just press and then boom, see the fucking dice.
Yeah.
Yep.
So basically, kind of like this. If you watch the stream.
Yeah. Yeah.
A big button. Hit it.
Yeah, but exactly. But you have it like a pinball button where it's in the underneath the table.
Yeah.
One thing
yeah.
it does as well, it doesn't make it so that you don't see the other player's one,
Mhm.
because I don't like it. It ruins the symmetry. Hang on, even better like this. So you just have it in the center there,
Mhm.
and then it's also easily available because the word cloud and the roll button is very close to each other. So you can literally, if we do it the way, ooh. Okay, so right, we want, ooh, yes, okay, because if we want the player's vision, right? Say we're looking at how the player is perceiving this game, right?
Yeah.
Their field of view and their kind of focus is going to be like this almost, right?
Mhm.
Even though of course they will see all of this, they
Yeah.
will
The
pay
main
attention to
focus is
this.
right there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
So we want most information to be here. So you have your held dice, which is essentially what makes this, right?
Mhm.
But then you have the button, the big. Hang on, I'm gonna actually make just to sort of show it here. Then you have the big red button that makes the dice go boom. You have that there, right? And
Mhm.
then you have an LED screen which is in universe, basically to the table, like the inventor would have, right there, with like digital watches, with a very simple, like simple graphic style, yeah. And you
Okay.
have that just show the pips, and like you have the. I actually do have the pips somewhere here. So let me just quickly get them.
Beep, beep.
Roll plus assets, game field, dice. So you have it like, you have them like this, and that's all the dice, like you said, right? This is all the dice in play in general.
Mhm.
Oh, that's satisfying. And it just fit. And then you have the ones that you're held, right? They can have like some color overlay or something. Like this, right?
Yeah. Or
So that's
those
the held that.
those you're not holding are grayed out.
Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
Because that's like another visual indicator for what's on the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can, for quick reference, because then you can say, then you can see, oh shit, I have like, because the word cloud says what you can score now, right?
Mhm.
But what this does is essentially it lets you quickly recognize a pattern.
Mhm.
So you can see you have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 5, 5. And you're like, shit, I just need to re-roll that one of that 5 and get a 4. And then I got it. Right?
Yeah.
You can do that, of course, on the game field, but this is where you'll be looking.
Yeah, I just feel the icons at the UI should
Well,
be a
yeah,
lot bigger.
this is,
But yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
This is just for illustration purposes.
Absolutely,
But
absolutely.
but all of that, of course, is represented in universe with the
Yeah.
like little display, with a little display on the underside of the table.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah, sure.
Because
Well-
that does put some stress though on you, because you'll actually have to like model out those things and make them look as if they are real. You know,
Yeah,
you'd have
but
to
that
like
wouldn't be a
make a
problem.
CRT, because I'm thinking like it's gonna be like a CRT stripe monitor or something like that. This thing, just a display
Yeah.
that shows them in like a really simple, like retro style almost.
Mm-hmm.
Might even have there be two displays, one for held dice and one for active dice, to make it even more visual and to make it like symmetry, to add to the symmetry a bit.
You could have it like had a button a little bit bigger, but have the if you put
So
the,
here you have it like
yeah,
this.
if you have those buttons at the top, but a little bit like the red outline around it, be slightly bigger than the button, and slightly put into the button. If I can, let's see, I have. Need to put that up. Oh, come on.
I think
Slow
this.
computer is slow, and you're lagging because I'm opening Photoshop.
Uh,
Let's see. Sure. Okay. So, so that wasn't.
What are you making now?
I'm just gonna show you how I was thinking. Something like this, where this is the button. I'm just gonna make it slightly darker, and then each dice like this.
And then the button is is
Darker one.
underneath.
Yeah, the darker one.
But it's such a small button. But yeah, that's more symmetrical, I guess.
Yeah, it's not.
Although this
symmetrical with all the
with this
thing,
one
but
you
yeah.
have the added benefit of visually being indicate which is held and which is not pretty quickly.
You can actually scale the button up a little bit like this, but yeah. So you have the let's see, just gray and something like this. Maybe in the background, like you have it like this, don't you? Ish.
Yeah, but of course it's going to be on the underside either way.
Yeah.
On the underside, it's probably it would be apt to say it's this, but it will be with the angle with going to be a bit further up. But yeah, because it's obviously going to be made here, like at just do this.
I'm lagging very hard when I I have Photoshop up as well.
But yeah, because it's the logic of say if you were to make this table in real life, yeah, this would essentially be a reader. The screen would be like a reader that would read the bottom of the dice to take off the top of the dice, and this button would just would activate like a pneumatic mechanism that sends this thing flying.
Yeah, that's not a problem. That's just animation, basically.
Yeah, but I
Actuation,
think
at least.
But I think having like button and then 2 monitors, like 2 like small displays there, with it written over held dice and active dice.
Thank you for the host, Catnip.
Because then you can actually you can very easily visualize. You can see what sort of held dice you have, and again, it's all about the pattern recognition, right? You want
Mhm.
to be quickly able to recognize patterns because this is something you play quickly. And again, with all the focus on this very field,
Yeah.
it makes it so you can. It's makes it a little bit like I want to question why we're not allowed to interact with the dice on the displays, because technically you could play the entire game like this. Then you could
Yeah.
technically just click on one of the active dice, it moves to the held dice, click roll, click on the active to get the hold, click on straight,
Yeah,
then
well, I
Lance
mean,
Runkle.
it's not a problem to actually do that as well.
But here's the question, though. The question isn't can we, but should we?
I
Because
absolutely, absolutely, I understand that.
yeah, because
Mm.
that takes so much away from the game focus, which is play cards, fuck people over. If you just look at this all fucking day, you're not gonna be able to interact with anything that is this side of the table, which is technically where you're able to then recognize that, oh shit, player 3 has just played a defensive card. I can't play my aggressive card. That kind of information then is out of focus. It's like you get tunnel visioned. So being able to see it there, it's
I mean, we can if we say, for example, a player puts down a card, and you have a card that can counter it or do something with it. We can just make the card on the right glow a little bit,
yeah.
and then
But okay,
that
no, because
shifts the attention over to the cards again.
yeah. But that's not my concern though. My concern, of course, is that you're not going to be able to actively play with this, because this is just a reference.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think that's what it should be. But remember, okay, it's one thing I really want to do at some point is actually put some environment here and like try to get like a cabin picture or something that I can put this in, because it won't be as visually clean as this, right? Because there will be a lot more visually stimulating objects in the background, right? Which will
Yeah.
make it that every piece of of UI elements that we choose to put in universe is something that the player might just ignore because it looks like part of the scenery, and the scenery isn't part of the game, right? So the moment we have something in universe like this, we have to basically train the player. Do you want the player to focus their interactions on a specific part of the game field and then ignore the rest as the scenery, or do you want them to say, okay, anything that is on the UI that's where you interact with the game on the UI level and on the table. But if we do like sneaky little elements to the side and underneath the table, that's going to make it a lot more visually obscure. So this part right here, although very quite useful, might just be it might train the player to notice the wrong things. So I'm gonna have a think of it.
Well, yeah, we can. Anyways, we can just we can do a test with both, basically.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
we need to do some play. I think what I really want to do at some point, if we ever get the funding, is I know a place that does user interaction tests with eye tracking, and I want to
Okay.
do eye tracking because I want to see where the fuck people focus when they play. Because if I see that they glance all the time down there, and not at the rest of the field, that's a problem. Because
Yeah.
that means we've put information in too much of a condensed space, leaving vital information to the peripheral. Vital information like cards being played and not played.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll have to figure that out at some point. But
we
yes,
will have
for
to
now,
test for with like sort of players who has played the game before and people who hasn't played it to see the
Yes,
difference as well.
yes.
Hmm.
I think that's one of the things we need I'm going to have a look at when I make the game design document all over again,
Mhm.
because that is something we need to again have that concurrent philosophy of game design.
Yeah.
And it needs to shine through. And you know, looking at this, I'm like, should we have the play set in the void? Should we have the game set in the void? Like, just have it be a gray background? Because at this point, I'm like, fuck, there's a lot of visual information on this screen. There's a lot of information.
Well,
and the moment, like,
you
if
can
I just
you can
do
actually
this-
if you have gray tones, well, not specifically gray, but not too bright colors all over the place. You can actually direct where you want the eye to focus.
yeah,
So if we basically had even just if the scene was a little bit darker and we had a brighter spot in the middle, like a spotlight on the middle on the dices,
that's true.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would automatically make the eye focus there, and then you won't be able to won't have the problem where you always where the eyes always go down in onto the UI.
So I want to try to show you something where that illustrates my point a little bit here. It's gonna give you eye cancer, but you'll have to live with it.
My eyes.
So let's see, move it over here. This up here. Okay. Okay. Bam.
Yeah, that made me have eye cancer indeed. I'm dying.
Right. Because this is a room.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Okay. First off,
You get me now.
let me fix that for you. Okay. Above that layer, you create a new layer. You make it a black. You color it black. No, black. Completely black.
I know what you're gonna do here. Yeah.
Yeah. And then turn off the gray area and just put the opacity down. Do you see? If the
Yeah, I know.
yeah, it
Yeah.
automatically centers. Yes, there's
So
a lot of
you have
going on in the
that's
background.
the spotlight idea. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a spotlight idea. If you have slightly grayed out or darker in the background, the eyes
Actually, I
won't.
quite like this now.
That subtle little thing, just darken the image a little bit, and completely fine again.
Yeah. It's like eye cancer, eye candy. Eye cancer, eye candy.
But yeah, there's a lot going on in the background that image as well.
Oh lord, yeah, yeah. And this
and
image is
the-
not
the
the
main
right
problem
perspective
there-
and all that shit.
Yeah, the main problem is the perspective.
Yeah. But you
Jeez.
okay? So, but at least now you understand that that's essentially the what's the crux of the issue is like when you have a 3D background, but and with a lot of visual information, having something in the 3D universe that looks like scenery that actually has a function
Yeah.
is bad. But visual information that you can't interact with isn't a function, so I'm fine with it. But again, we'll have to test it in the future. But I like it. I like it. So I think we'll keep it. I'll try to make it tomorrow with basic shapes.
Mm-hmm.
To just kind of see if the look jives.
Mm.
And then the button is going to be important. Do we have like a
Button.
pull button where you like, like a pinball machine where like you like it pulls out and then bam slams back in?
I mean, I can make one.
Because that could be quite interesting.
Pinball
Where-
meets
what-
Yahtzee.
yeah. No, but because okay, so oh shit, you know what that makes it? That makes you the longer you pull it back, the literally the harder the throw, the punch. So you feel like you have some agency when it comes to the dice rolling. Because remember, some people like to, when playing with dice, like to shake it for a long ass time for some god knows reason,
yeah.
and like to throw them in a very specific way. And adding that little like element of agency might actually do it for some people.
And we can actually put the dices in the middle in a glass cage.
Yeah.
Of emotions. So when you
Or a
when you
force field.
yeah, when you pull the lever, you can actually see the whole glass cage just move and
like
shake.
in Lotto, like in
Yeah,
Lotto
yeah,
when they
yeah.
have the spinner ball where just the dice just
a force field ball just picks them up and it just shakes them around and just lets them down again.
Man, when we make the medieval version of this, I definitely want that to be like it literally to be like you use your force powers.
Magic, yeah.
Yeah, magic and shit. All right. Well, okay. Wow, we kind of ran over time there.
A little bit, half an hour. But yeah.
Hang on, I'm gonna save this beautiful.
And we haven't even shown
creation.
my part of the day.
Yeah, we haven't really shown your part. Okay, let's go to what you've been doing
Yeah,
today.
I'm gonna close this because this is lagging me the fudge out. There we go.
But yeah, I'm really starting to like the UI now, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting a feel for how it's actually going to be played. I'm
Yeah.
glad we did this at the start.
So yeah, I don't have Mats's screen there. What is wrong now? Oh, that's an empty.
What are you doing?
There we go. I'm just gonna let that compile completely. Check it out. Okay. So today I've done it so that the cards actually come from a deck,
Mm-hmm.
and
you have
deck-
that beautiful interaction where when it goes to minus, it starts growing again like
Yeah, on
a
the-
monster.
So I have, for debug purposes, I've just bound the A key to be able to spawn cards.
Yeah.
But it takes the cards from the deck that I made using the card editor that we have.
Mm-hmm.
I've added 6 cards into the normal card deck. And
Different ones?
Huh?
Different ones?
Yeah, just rename them, or they have this different title. So
Okay.
when I click A, it chooses a random deck or a random card from the
Card
deck.
from the deck. Yeah.
Right now, that specific part does not check if it's been drawn from before.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just an easy fix. I can literally just copy paste this up there. But yeah, so I should get a new card, the random card, every time I click A, and it should pop up into the player hand, which on the scene view is here. So it should pop up here. The card deck is here, and they spawn there and they fly into the player's hand.
Yeah.
So if I click A, whoop, 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 whoop. So you can actually see that each
I
of
should
them.
have to catch up on this. Oh, hello. But
Yeah.
you don't have the. It doesn't shrink now. Oh, because they don't put it up like.
Yeah, I've fixed the shrinking problem that we had.
Oh, that's what you said. Oh, yeah. Man, it's so smooth.
Yeah,
Whoop,
and
whoop.
I can actually also change the spacing between the
'Cause
cards.
if you remember how the UI looks right now, or how the player views looks, the deck will be like in the middle of the screen in the far back, like perspective wise, it will be in the back.
Mm-hmm.
How will it look if you try to put the deck there whilst having the cards relative to the corner of the player's perspective? How does that look?
What do you mean? Wait, hang on.
Try to make it look as much as possible like the actual way it's going to be at the end.
Okay. Let me just reset that. Select the hand. The camera is looking that way, so I need to move the hand backwards and to the right. I'm gonna have to spawn a couple of cards though. Pum pum pum. I'm gonna move the hand back to the right. That's a little bit far.
Because when it
It will
comes
look
to actually,
like this.
yes, there you go.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I will have to move the entire thing a little bit. I can make it so that it adds them from the right and to the left, so they don't
I was just
end up.
yeah.
Because right
obviously-
now it's more for it's more set up for being centered like this in the middle of the screen.
yeah.
Like this, and I haven't actually made it so that it's a set size on the screen as well. That I haven't, but I can change that.
Because
I
I
know
think
how.
I think the cleanest way to do it is to set an area for it and
Mhm.
say resize to get into that area to fit as much as you can. Basically make a parent and say you will have to contain yourself within this.
You have to
Um,
contain yourself, kid.
Contain yourself, kid. Yes. So and then anchor that parent to the camera or to the UI. I don't know. We'll see, because it depends entirely. Because remember, if the camera is able to move, then the cards will have to move with it. And if you do that wrong, that's gonna make clusterfuck. But okay, that's what's been done. That fucking smooth ass draw. Nice. I thought that was gonna take a lot longer. Great.
Yeah, tomorrow
We have,
I'm gonna start on the on hover thingy so that it actually pops up a little bit when you hover over them.
Yeah.
So you can read it a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Mats. Okay.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
Mats.
Okay, Mats.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. Well, that's today done. Thanks
That's
for
today done.
watching. And we'll see you tomorrow or in the next video.
Yes. See ya.
Bye.